Welcome to another whiteboard session. I've got a very easy question for you. Are you living life by design? Are you living life by default? If you're living life by default, then in most cases, this is how your life plays out. This is a very short video. I always go into depth when it comes to this when we go in one of our long videos. But this becomes the pathway for somebody that is living their life by default. I will start here where it is defined first and foremost by the wrong focus. Always remember where your focus goes, energy flows. If your focus is wrong, then chances are that you're going to have a bad life. Your wrong focus can easily be defined by three things. The first one here is ego. That becomes the first focus. And when you're doing things purely based on ego, it's never in your best interest. It's always against you. It might make you feel good in the short term, but in the long term, the payoff is just too much. The price for that is always too high. The second reason why most people do this is always to please other people, to please others. Buying things that we can't afford, doing things that we don't like so that we can fit in, drinking, going out, smoking, dressing in certain ways so that you can be part of the crowd. And these are always wrong focus. You're focusing on things that don't serve you. The other reason here is always focusing on the wrong things, focusing on what is not working in your life. If you talk to majority of people and do this as an exercise, you will find that a lot of people know what they don't want in their life. But if you ask them to tell you one thing that they want, majority of them have no answer. And if whatever you focus on, that's where energy flows. Now, because they have wrong focus, now in most cases, if you are focusing on the wrong reasons, if you're focusing on the wrong things, if you're focusing on the things that you don't want in your life, that will always lead into what I call the wasteful actions. And the wasteful actions here can be defined by our A, B, C, D, E, F. And this will always be your anxiety. It will lead to blame, complaining. It will always lead to depression, excuses, and of course, fear. Now, this one will always lead to struggle. Your life, you're constantly swimming uphill. You're constantly going against the current. Every single thing that you do, getting out of bed is a struggle. Getting to work is a struggle. Focusing for the day is a struggle. Eating right is a struggle. Having a good relationship is a struggle. Your life becomes a constant struggle. And then you are forced to create an escape routine. This escape routine becomes the maze that we live in. And majority of these people in this case, you always have to invest yourself and your energy in things that will always take you away from reality. This will always be mindful TV watching. This will always be drinking. This will be partying. These are people that party even during the week. Smoking. Random sex or relationship. Drama in relationships. These are escapes. So you do this, but when you come back to reality, you're still starting from this point. This is simply a default setting. And they will always say that any man that has no destination gets nowhere. Aim at nothing and hit nothing. And this is how, unfortunately, majority of us live. Now, let's look on the other side. How does it feel or look like if you're living a life purely by design? There is nothing beautiful in life that happens by chance. A beautiful mansion has to have a blueprint. A beautiful dress has to have a blueprint. The only thing that will always happen without a blueprint is a shack. And that's where we end up when it comes to default setting. How do we live our life by design? How do we live our lives where we're responding to life rather than reacting to life when it becomes to our default setting? The first thing here is you need to have clarity. You need to sit down and visualize. You have to have a clear picture, crystal clear picture of what is it that you want. You have to have it in your head first before you can bring it out. You have to have, and this is where our goal setting comes in. When you wake up in the morning, you have to plan your day. You have to know, are you going to eat breakfast or are you fasting for that day? What time are you going to get up? What is the first thing that you're going to do in the morning? Are you going to read a book or are you going to be on your phone and be scrolling through social media? Are you going to go by public means? Are you going to drive your car? Are you going to have a breakfast? What is the first thing that you're going to do when you get to work? Have you planned your day the day before? That gives you clarity. That gives you direction. Direction for you to be able to stick to what you've planned here in terms of your goals. You need discipline. It's useless to plan and not work the plan. It doesn't matter how good your plan is unless you work the plan. Discipline becomes, and especially self-discipline, discipline here is simply a matter of making sure that you do what you said you're going to do, even the time that when you said it is long gone. Discipline simply means that doing what needs to be done, whether you feel it or not. Discipline means sticking to facts rather than feeling. Discipline simply means that you have to do what is good for you long term rather than what feels good for now. Discipline simply means that you have to take the time to cook your meal rather than put it in your microwave, where it's going to be ready in 2 minutes, but all the nutrients have been killed. This straight away leads to right actions. Right actions in most cases are habits. But if you want to live the kind of life by design, I'll always call this, rather than habits, I call this rituals. These are things that pull you. Even though they are hard while you're doing them, even though you don't feel like, but you get addicted to them because you can see the change in your life. You can see the improvement in your life. You can see the positivity in your life. You can see your life is moving forward. When you look back, you can see you're living a very long, wide trail between who you used to be and who you were, where you used to be and where you are now, what you used to want and what you have at this point. And this leads you to positive results. And this also brings it back. Now, this becomes purely, it starts feeding itself. It becomes a happy loop. And this is responding to life as in responsibility. When you're doing this, you are responding. You are responding to life here. You cannot respond to life until you've sat down and write it on paper. Because if you don't, then automatically you're reacting to life. And if you're reacting to life, you are living life by default. Nothing beautiful is ever created by living life in default. There's nobody who wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to do everything possible today to become very fat. There's nobody who wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to do everything possible today so that my business goes under. There's nobody who wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to mess up so much today that I get divorced. All those things happen because you've not designed your life. How do you design your life? This becomes the actions of a life that is by default. And the action of a life that is by design, number one here, you have to have goals. Number two, your life has to be defined with a standard of excellence. Number three, you have to have a no excuse policy in everything that you do. Number four here, you have to make sure that persistence becomes who you are. And number five, you have to make sure that you live a deadline-driven life. A deadline-driven life. Any project or task will take either 3 days, 3 months, or 3 years. Any task or project will take as long as you give it. And if you're living a deadline-driven life, you decide that this thing has to be done by this and done like this, automatically you start creating the kind of life that you want. What kind of life are you living? Are you living life by design or are you living life by default? Share your thoughts in the comment section below and see you in the next session. God bless.